Linen fabrics are beautiful, breezy, cool, comfortable, and quite trendy right now. But if you don't know what you're doing when you're sewing linen, you might end up very frustrated or with a garment that may not fit after a few washes. So be sure to keep watching so that you can start sewing your linen garment like a pro. Linen almost always shrinks. So it's important to pre-wash and dry your fabric. Now, if you're going to be line drying all the time, you can line dry, but if you tend to use your dryer with high heat, use your dryer with high heat. You want to treat the fabric as you will for the life of your garment. So ensure that you wash your garment, dry it, and iron it so that you get the perfect sizing when you're cutting out your garment. Tip number 2 is to use a new and sharp needle. Now, I won't lie, I've gone months without changing my needle, especially if I'm not sewing every day or every week. But when you're doing linen, you have a tendency to have fabrics kind of pick, and then you'll have like a drag in your fabric when you're using dull needles. You don't want that. And you'll even have some shifting of the fabric as you stitch. So it's important to use a very sharp, and as I said, preferably new needle, a universal needle or a microtex needle. And those needles are just really high quality, fine needles that are made for tightly woven fabrics. And they also work on things like silk, things that move around a lot. They are hardy needles and they do the job really nicely. Tip number 3 is to press and not iron your fabric. So I have a little piece of leftover linen here, and as you see, you can actually drag it. You can drag it. And when you're ironing and you have drags, when you're ironing hard and you have drags, it's very difficult to get those out of your linen fabric. So be sure to press with steam. And that's a great way to get rid of the wrinkles in your linen. And press as you sew. Pressing as you sew makes it much easier to launder your garment after you've sewn it. Now, as I mentioned, you tend, or we all tend to have a lot of fraying when using linen fabrics. It frays very easily, especially once you start stitching and cutting along the line, the bias. There's a lot of fraying. Now, speaking of fraying, you can see how easily this fabric frays. If you're not careful, your fabric will fray all the way to your seam, and we don't want that. We want our garment to last a really long time. So it's important to finish off your raw edges. Not finishing your raw edge in a linen garment, to me, is not an option. So there are different things you can do. You can zigzag the edges as soon as I would suggest doing it as soon as you have cut your pattern or cut your fabric out. Either serge the edge, zigzag the edge, or cut it with a pinking shears. And a pinking shear is that scissor that gives you that zigzag look, because it's much harder for the fabric to fray from a zigzag as opposed to a straight line. I really recommend doing French seams. When you do French seams, your garment, I feel like it lasts forever. The seams are enclosed, it looks extremely professional. A lot of even the store-bought garments that I have that have been linen, they frayed so badly. But if they had had a French seam, it would have been perfection. Tip number 6 is to use high quality thread. If you're using high quality linen, you want high quality thread. I suggest 100% cotton or some high quality polyester. Don't get the cheapest thing you can find. Invest in your linen garments, especially if you want them to last a long time. Now, linen fabric while sewing, there are some similarities to stretch. You see this? It does actually stretch quite a bit, especially on the bias. So what I recommend is that you gently sew. Don't tug too much, don't pull while sewing. Allow the presser foot to feed the fabric in smoothly so that you get the perfect fit. This pulling while sewing can quickly distort your style. So be sure that you're gentle and you don't pull while sewing. Regarding your stitch that you're stitching with your thread that we just mentioned, you probably want to use a 2.8 to 3 millimeter stitch. So usually we have it on the dial on our traditional sewing machines. So you're looking at 2.8 to 3. And those give you longer stitches that are more secure and more, I'd say, ideal for your woven fabrics. Now we've been talking about how stretchy these seams can get, and this is especially evident around curved edges like your armhole. So after you have zigzagged or you have serged, you could also stay stitch, and stay stitch is where you use a fine stitch like a 2 or below to stitch close to the edge of your fabric. And when you do that, you have less distortion. You have less distortion in your garment. So we're not pulling and we're also stay stitching, which makes it easier for the garment to maintain its, I'd almost say posture, but it won't get so distorted while sewing your pieces together. The last tip is to embrace the natural texture of your garment. Now, most cottons we can get fairly smooth and flat when we're ironing or we're pressing. Linen, however, as you can see, and as you probably well know, crushes so easily. It crushes so easily. So I would recommend that you press, but don't obsess over getting your material or your fabric perfectly flat. You want it mostly smooth, yes, but as soon as you step into a vehicle and you get to your location, you're gonna have some crinkles in your garment. And depending on the type of linen, you may have a lot of crinkles in your garment. So don't obsess over it. When you wash, try to get your garment out of the washing machine or the dryer as quickly as possible so that it naturally releases some of those crinkles before you go in with your iron or steamer. There are some people I know who don't even iron their linen at all. I think that's crazy, but embrace the natural texture of the fabric. Allow some crinkle because that is a part of its beauty. Okay, if you found this video helpful at all, please let me know. Please leave a comment in the description box if you have any sewing questions that you'd like me to address. And like, comment, subscribe, and click on another video that may be of interest to you, or see you in the next video.